Please do.
We're gonna get out of here and we're gonna go.
Teddy just talking right now.
Yeah.
All right, we are live.
Myself, that's all I care about.
Hello.
Hey, the
We
comments.
are live.
Yeah, and it looked like he done. Okay,
We're live. We're
we're
live.
live.
We're
What's happening?
live.
Hey,
Behind the scenes with Black America. Yeah, so welcome to a very important conversation tonight, Black America and COVID-19, specifically talking about Black businesses tonight. We know that COVID-19 has affected small businesses all across America, especially the 8.2 million minority businesses. And specifically tonight, we want to discuss the 2.6 million Black-owned businesses. If you are wondering if I said that number correctly, if you're watching out there, yep, I said that number correctly. There are 2.6 million Black-owned businesses in Nashville, which makes us about 4% of the small businesses in the United States.
Did you say in Nashville or in Tennessee?
In the United States, there's 2.6 million small businesses in the United States, which makes us account for 4% of the small businesses in the United States, which means we have work to do. We're going to start off by introducing our panelists, but before I do that, if you just joined tonight, go ahead and start your watch parties. Invite your friends who have Black-owned businesses. There's information on here tonight that we don't want you to miss. The goal of tonight is to help you create action plans, provide information for you to help you survive COVID-19. Maybe there's something that someone will say on this broadcast tonight that you have not thought about. So go ahead, hit the share button, create your watch parties, and let's get started. So our panelists tonight consist of Mr. Josh Mundy. He's the founder and CEO of Music City Cleaners, the Black Nashville, and co-founder of Pivot Technology, very well known here in Nashville in the Black business community. We have Mr. Bill Lee McCleskey. He's founder and CEO of MyTech Partners. In the Grind Includes Friday. Ms. Danielle McGee, founder and CEO of Black Business Boom and Black People Making Moves Facebook group. Ms. Shayna Berkeley, she's the director of Corner to Corner. We have Mr. Jeff Magruder. He is not on the screen right now, but he will be on when we begin to talk about SBA and the EIDL loans and all those good questions that you guys have sent in. Mr. Jeff Magruder is the Senior Vice President of Pinnacle Financial Partners. And then we have my co-host, Mr. Corey Bill Sr., who is founder and CEO of Corey Insures. And then myself, I am your host, Erica Harvell, and I'm the founder of NODAP. So I want to start the show off today with a quote. And this quote came from two Morehouse students in an article that they wrote asking about how COVID-19 is affecting the Black business community. And this quote says, "Privilege may blind some to the reality that we are all indeed connected, but government leaders should no longer bury their heads in the sand to the unique vulnerability of Black-owned businesses and neighborhoods created by past economic crisis responses." Now, there was a response to that quote by a Black Nigerian who moved to the United States 30 years ago. And his response was, "You say that privilege may blind some, but I say victimhood and a lack of individual responsibility may blind others to the success and opportunity that's present in the U.S." With that being said, I'd like to ask the first question to the panel. Are we being our worst enemy by expecting or waiting on the government to create a separate bailout for Black businesses? And are we, in fact, as the Black Nigerian responded, said that we are fighting from a position of victimhood? Who would like to be the first to respond?
Yeah, I'll respond to that. I think it's interesting that you pointed out that response was from a Nigerian. So he obviously probably has a different perspective, you know. I don't know if he was born here or what. But
30 years ago.
He moved here 30 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I mean, you know, so I think they're both right. You know what I'm saying? But I think that the one piece that we can control is what we should be focusing on. So that's our activity, our mindset, our psychology, our response. And, I hear a lot, even, pre-corona and COVID-19, I hear a lot of folks in the Black community, a lot of Black entrepreneurs talk about disparity studies, and we talk about the disadvantages and things that we're up against. And it's all true, right? But we know it's there. And, I don't know if, your mom taught you when I was growing up, she said, you got to work 2-3 times as hard to get half as far. Why? Because you're a Black male. And, for me, I'm not about talking about reasons or making excuses. And I'm not saying this is an excuse, but we all know that the history of our country, right? And I think that if other people can come here from other countries, some of them not even speak the language, and in 10, 20 years, they build businesses, they build community, and yes, they know their culture, they know where they came from, and they have some advantages or some things or resources that we don't have. But at the same time, I think we need to focus on what we can control. What we can control is what we do every day, how we progress in terms of our mindset, how we raise our families, how we build our communities. That's what we can control. And I think that for me, yes, there are some barriers out there. There's some adversity and things that set us back. But if I see one person of color, if I see one Black person doing what I want to do, that means it can be done, right? And even if I don't see a Black person doing, I still believe it can be done, right? Because I'm a child of God, right? So I just truly believe that we have to focus on what we can control. Now, personally, I'm not one to go out and march. I'm not one to go out and protest. I'll write a check. You know what I mean? But I think even during the civil rights movement, there were people, Dr. King, they organized marches, right? And they had kids out here marching, and they knew the kids were going to get arrested, but he had to go to business people to bail them out of jail, So I think we all play our roles, but I'm real big on focusing on the situation. Let's look at reality. Let's make the changes. Let's progress. But at the same time, we got to focus on what we can control, and that's ourselves.
Yeah. And Bill, I think you said something that was real key in what you were saying, that we have to focus on reality. I think many a times when we embrace the victimhood mindset, that we're not focusing on reality. We still trying to heal or get over from what's lingering from the past. I just wanted to chime in, but I look like Miss Shauna from Corner to Corners want to say something. Feel free to join in.
Yeah. No, I was listening, and I concur with what you guys are saying. However, I think that the vantage point by which we view this, right? Because victimhood, and saying things like victimhood blames the victim. That same kind of vocabulary is used in places where women are sexually abused, and they like, you can't get over it, now you're playing the victim. You're not playing a victim if you are a victim. And to acknowledge our victimhood is to just acknowledge when your child falls down, you ain't like, well, you shouldn't be, hopefully. Get up and come on. You acknowledge, oh, you failed, you hurt yourself, I'm sorry. And then we talk about how we can move forward after the acknowledgement of the wrong that happened to you. Somebody hits you or somebody offends you. In that same way, I think the guy from Nigeria, and we all talk from our own experience. And so he may have had an experience in Nigeria, and over here it feels different to him. But I wouldn't go to Africa and be like, y'all still living like this and that, because I don't have that same history and understanding about the life that they lived ancestrally before I got there. And so I don't think that it's victimhood. I think it's absolutely necessary to acknowledge the disparity. It's absolutely necessary to acknowledge the fact that the COVID-19 business loans have no transparency about who gets them. And it's absolutely necessary to be appalled that you're giving Ruth Chris and Shake Shack and these other people who have lawyers and accountants and loopholes and knowledge all this money when it could have helped the masses, especially in Black businesses that are funneling a lot of the economy and a lot of the culture. We absolutely should acknowledge that. And if we don't, then we do ourselves a disservice and not acknowledging what we offer to this country. And then from there, intra-culturally, we can have conversations like, hey, y'all, they ain't feel as though, or they're going to be behind, so this is what we can do. But we don't let them off the hook because they don't care.
I agree.
Before you say
something, Danielle, I just want to let the viewers know that Mike Patton is managing the questions in the chat. So if you have a question, hit Mike Patton and he will let us know. Go ahead, Danielle. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that I think that we should absolutely acknowledge what's the hurt that we have, but I think that we have to get past it just because it's not helping us, and it's not realistic for us to have these expectations from the country that caused us to be where we are right now. So at what point do we decide we can't depend on them? It's up to us collectively to figure this thing out. And that's where I am with it. Absolutely. I don't depend on this country. I don't think this country is going to do anything special for us. I highly doubt it. I don't think that, just like the guy, the quote, he's like, get over it. It is what it is. And at this point, we don't have a choice but to do that. I think that it's unfortunate. It's messed up, but at this point, we have to figure out how do we collectively come together and help ourselves versus depending on and waiting on something that'll probably never happen.
I agree.
Yes, that's what I believe in. SOS. We have to save ourselves pretty much. The government is not going to allow any money towards African-American people. That's just not going to happen. I mean, I think it's already kind of laid out via the 8A programs that they want you to get in and try to build your business through. So they have different type of options. They're not quick options, but I think we need to prepare our businesses so we can go after government business. The 8A program, and the other minority type programs. And I know a lot of people fall into that minority lump now, which is gays and white women, and there's a lot of people that fall into that category, which kind of convolutes the process. But still, we have to really develop solutions within our own community. We have our own banks currently, so our banks. We should be funneling our money in our banks, and our banks should be supporting small Black-owned businesses. That's what it should look like. But it doesn't happen that way. So we have to play the game and then figure out how we can get in what we get in. But I think if we utilize our capital, because we have so much spending power, but we just have to spend within each other. And if we build community like other communities, and figure out how to trust each other, and that's really the main thing, is just really that trust factor. If we figure that out, I mean, I think we'll be all right, but we just have to figure that out.
I agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I just want to chime in. I'm just wrap it up on that part. Yeah, Monday is right. Everybody on this panel is right, but the reality of the matter is the Honorable Minister Farrakhan really warned us like 4 years ago when he said business is warfare. And if once we understand business is warfare, then we cannot go on and say the same story of victimhood. Now I get what Shauna was saying was we can't let them off the hook, but it's 2020. They don't care, and as long as they don't care, we have to find a way to press on. And as to Monday's point, as far as unity is concerned, we may not have unity amongst the collective, but it's imperative that you have unity amongst the people that you consistently engage with to ensure that the capital that's there, because we have 1.3 trillion spending power. I mean, all of us are a part of that. So I do think we need to acknowledge, but it has fallen on deaf ears. So what's now, since it's fallen on deaf ears? Like that Nigerian, he was here for 30 years. He's seen enough, for him to have an educated opinion about what he said. He ain't just come over here. And you got to understand, foreigners come over here with a different mindset than we have here, because I understand we unfortunately still deal with the oppression. We don't move forward. So what's next outside of the victimhood? Because it is a victimhood mentality, whether we want to, agree with that or not.
Yeah. Could it be that we fight from a stance of victimhood because we're grossly uneducated about ourselves? We don't understand or really know that we only account for 4% of the small businesses in the United States. Out of 30.2 million, we are 4% of that. And we're only 2.6 million. Out of that 2.6 million, 1.5 million of us are sole props. 1.1 million of us have businesses that actually employ someone. And so if we knew our own numbers, I think at this point we would be pissed off to the point where we would no longer be fighting from a narrative of victimhood. Does anybody?
But getting pissed off, like, you know, people react differently, right? Some people got a temper. Some people get pissed off and they start cussing. Some people get pissed off and, you know, they take action to do something productive. So it's about like when we find out this information, or we get pissed off and we learn about the disparities or you know, things that frustrate us. What are we gonna do about it? So I think that's the key, you know. And listen, we are pissed off. I mean, let's be real. Black people pissed off. Okay, we don't trust the cops. I mean, we learn about all these studies, and we always end up somehow at the bottom somehow. And then we express it on Facebook. We have a forum, and now what? So I'm here to just encourage everybody that's listening. We have to take action. Whatever objective or business that you want to start, it should motivate you to build your business. It should motivate you to become that real estate investor. It should motivate you to raise your kids properly, even when you're tired, you know. And so getting pissed off or getting frustrated should not, you know, make us do something stupid or crazy or just talk. We have to respond in a way that's going to be productive.
Right. And so when I say getting pissed off, I mean, at this point, instead of constantly pointing fingers and saying they don't allow us to do this, they don't allow us to do that, they got their feet on our neck. At this point, looking at the fact that we've been saying this and screaming this for so many years, for 50 plus years, we are, I think Hispanic businesses account for 13%. And we're 4%.
We're at 4%, and we had the head start over Hispanics.
Yeah,
you know how we like to talk about. You know how we like to talk about white folks had a head start, had a 400-year head start over us. We've had a head start over Hispanics, and yet they have leapfrogged us. They have tripled, you know, the percentages in business. We're at 4%. That's what we mean about being pissed off, Bill. I mean, 4%. And like she said, the stats out of 2.4 million businesses, 1.5 is sole props. Like half of the black businesses are sole props, and then 1.1 of them are employed less than 100 employees or less. So like we're truly behind this 8 ball. Like I do think we need to be pissed, but being pissed has not what's one word for, has brought the momentum to action. As Monday said, action, being about that action, you know, joining businesses.
At one point, are we gonna get mad at ourselves? Is what I'm like. We're mad at everybody else, but I'm trying to figure out at what point we're gonna get mad at ourselves, because I'm mad at us for a lot of reasons. And I mean, and you all know how I feel about Black-owned businesses, but I'm still mad at Black folks because, again, I feel like it's time for us to step up and do for ourselves. We've been given the tools. You got people like all of the people who are on this panel who are out here giving away free knowledge, who are out here doing whatever we can do to support Black-owned businesses, but we shouldn't have to beg for us to support us. Like, I'm literally begging for people to support Black-owned businesses. I'm literally begging for people to join free trainings to be able to get the knowledge that they need to be able to elevate their lives and their business. So I'm done with being mad at everybody else. I'm trying to figure out when we're going to get mad at ourselves, mad enough to do something about it and take action to elevate ourselves. Because, I mean, how many years do we need to figure out that they ain't here for us? Like, I don't know how much more we need to happen for us to get it. Like, I mean, we had all these years to figure out.
I think that perspective is everything too, because I've never, since I started my tech, I really didn't see myself or my tech as a Black business, right? And I think that a lot of times, where some Black businesses go wrong is, unless you truly are for Black people, they see themselves as a Black business first instead of a business. You know what I mean? And if you think about that, if I see myself as a Black entrepreneur, then I'm gonna operate in a certain way, right? I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying if you see yourself as a Black entrepreneur, like when I look at Josh, I don't see Josh as a Black entrepreneur. I see Josh as an entrepreneur. He got real estate, he had dry cleaners, he got a tech school. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Now his audience or network may be predominantly Black, but for me, like his services reach across, the line. So what I'm saying is, if we see ourselves first as Black entrepreneurs, like I don't see myself like that. So I think I operate in a different vein, you know what I'm saying? Or even with different energy. Whereas if I said I'm a Black entrepreneur, then who do I market to? What type of marketing am I doing? You know what I mean? How do I operate? It's just a different flow. So, and then we have this expectation too, right? So do we have an expectation that somebody should help us? Should the government do X, Y, Z? Should the state or city, or should I get this grant because I am a Black entrepreneur? Whereas if I see myself as an entrepreneur first, I'm not looking for a Black labeled, resource or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that may have something to do with it as well.
I think that there's also some sort of complex that makes us believe that we don't deserve the type of success that we truly do. Mm-hmm. And I think that stops us a lot of times as well. I think there's this thing hanging over our heads that makes us think that these people who have reached this level of success, that we for some reason don't deserve it. And it stops us from going after it. Because again, I feel like there are all of the resources that you need to be successful. They on Google, like it's not rocket science right there. They're on Google, and then you have people who are freely giving them away. So we have to stop the excuses, and we can't use the excuses as crutches. Right. We have to go and get what we want. And of course we're disadvantaged. I'm definitely not denying that. We're disadvantaged for sure. But at what point do you step aside, put that aside, and decide I'm not going to be disadvantaged anymore? I'm going to go out there and get what I need to be able to be successful.
I agree.
I think that's an individual journey that we can't hold ourselves to as a collective. Because I'm thinking, I'm listening about like how I envision that, and then with Corner to Corner, we work with Black entrepreneurs. I have 200 and some graduates that we're trying to keep up their business and grow, and so I'm trying to see like that collective, and it really does seem like a journey to be like, I'm gonna put that aside, I'm gonna put that offense, and I'm gonna put that oppression and these things aside based on it being an individual journey. Because for me, I majored in African American studies in college, right? So when you really learn about what they did in Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, and then you learn about Jefferson Street and how Jefferson Street was booming, right? And they were like, no, and all these different places, it can become discouraging to be like, okay, let's not play our ancestors as if they was complacent and now we got to pick up the mantle. Like they was really out here knocking down the walls of Jericho, the Great Wall of China. Like they really made some moves for us in ways that we can never even fathom. And so I don't want to like discount that. But also, we have a lot that we can do as well. But I don't know. I think that there is a level of emotional trauma. There's a level of physical trauma. There's a level of mental trauma that is not easy to just get over. Each person has to go through that individually versus our counterparts don't have that experience. And I'm not Hispanic. I don't know any Hispanic business owners, so I can't talk to how they have grown so fast, but I'm sure they have their own levels of trauma they had to get over as well. But I just wanted to throw that idea in there that like there has been a lot of forward movement, and then you'll see things happen to where it can be very discouraging and be like, what the heck? We did all this work. We had our own bank. We had our own this. We had our own that. We had voting rights. We were in the Senate, the state legislature. Boom, boom, boom. First woman to run for president was a Black woman. Like, we're not going to play them like they ain't do their thing. And we also see the repercussions in that as well.
Right. I think really, to me, I just think that we have to expand our visions. I think we have to think bigger than what we've been thinking. We dominate certain industries, but don't dominate others. And I think we have to get back into expanding what we do, because we're talented in a lot of great things. but I think we pigeonhole ourselves and not create bigger visions. I think, I mean, if we all came together, we could open up a grocery store in North Nashville. I mean, I just think we have to take bigger risk. And I think our risk factor, and I think it's just trauma. We're scared to take the bigger risk or use the excuse that, we're not going to have backing or money. And I think that money thing always stops us from really growing and getting to the point where we can, expand, do bigger things. So I think we have to do bigger things to, again, employ people. So our risk levels and risk tolerance is so low that we're just starting a whole bunch of businesses that we're running ourselves, and we're not looking to employ nobody. So we're scared. We're so scared. We're like, okay, we're just gonna do this ourselves. We're gonna make all the money, and we're not gonna expand the community and build the community and spread it out. So I just think we have to really, expand our visions and do things that you think that you can't do. Just go do it. Go try.
I'm gonna say from expanded the vision, what you said to this is piggyback off. I'm my fault, Erica. Piggyback off that. When you look at when we speak about trauma, it seems like every decade or so we're the race that have to shift our mindset. Many of us went to college in the 90s and early 2000s, right? So as we were growing up, I'm sure I know, at least me from being from the south side of Chicago, the only entrepreneur we knew was the drug dealers, right? We didn't know how lucrative starting cleaning businesses were back in the day when our fathers, friends were cleaners or lawn care services, things of that nature. We looked at that as slave work, so we kind of ran away from that type of labor when we was told it was entrepreneur. But many of us, we went to school under the guise of, we go to school, you get a job, you work 40 years, you go professional, right? That's many of us in the 90s. Now, a lot of us has transitioned over to the entrepreneurship. So, to the entrepreneurial mindset. And it seemed like we're always shifting. That's why I feel like the trauma is never healed. We can never get healed from the trauma because we're going from one trauma to another mindset. So, as Brother Mundy said, as well as Bill said, and Danielle, that we have to shift the vision. We have to press forward. We got to offer newer avenues for us to get into entrepreneurship, because like you, Erica, you're in the tech field, and Mundy he's in the tech field as well. When did we start speaking more on STEM within our community? And what conversation did we have with that? Because it seemed like, just to me, that it just came on the scene a few years ago, but they've been doing that like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, so
we got to find a way to stop being behind the 8 ball. I
think where we are as a community, we are reactive instead of proactive. So we are always on the defense. Like we're always like reacting to something that's happening to us instead of us already having our game plan and ready to rock and roll. What it is just lack of leadership and lack of that one voice, one sound, one plan to operate and execute. But in regards to tech, reason why I jumped in tech, because for the whole 2018, 2019, I sat in meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, and people telling me there's no African American people in tech. Oh, really? Okay, cool. I'm gonna get it popping then. So it's really about creating solutions for our people instead of going to these meetings and saying, or getting that information, say we need this and that. Well, okay, cool. Let's go create it. And that's what we did when it came to tech. It was like, okay, we need more people in the tech. All right, cool. What better person to do it than me? So I'm going to go and get the right team and the right people so that our people can get the skills that they need so they can get some of these high-paying jobs in Nashville. Because every time I go in the meeting, you want to lowball me. I'm not an affordable housing type cat. Hey, cool. That's good. We need those options, but we like nice shit too.
No,
absolutely.
But you know what? it's not realistic for us to not think that some of the stuff isn't by design. Like
No,
they're
definitely.
behind in tech because they wanted us, because they kept us out, like, so we're not let in a lot of doors. So that's why we're playing catch up a lot of times. And then once we are allowed in, again, like you said, it's the leadership who's going to step up and actually move forward with it. And how hard is it going to be to be able to break through that? And is it even worth it? Like, who's going to be like, okay, let me put in the leg work when I can just do my thing over here. Josh, we appreciate it because a lot of people just aren't willing to do that. They're just gonna be like, it's too hard and it's not worth it for me personally. And that's where another issue we have is that we're all about ourselves and what's going to benefit us personally, not about the community. And so I love that we have people like Josh that's like, I don't care. Like, I'm gonna bust down this wall. It don't matter to me. But we don't have a lot of that.
Right. And so just responding to what you guys have said about moving into tech and expanding our vision, with it only being 2.6 million small businesses in the United States and 1.5 million of us being sole props. One of the questions that came through the Google Docs was, will COVID-19 be the death of small businesses? And another person asked, kind of made the comment that they are afraid that because of the economic hardship that most Black small businesses are experiencing, they're afraid that the majority of the sole props will go back to a 9-to-5. And if that happens, then that decreases Black-owned businesses in the United States. And so just with that being said, what are some things that Black businesses can be doing right now to ensure that COVID-19 does not take them out?
Pivot.
Pivot tech. I mean, I will do this as a plug for, a lot of Danielle and Josh were all on this as well, but Corner to Corner, if you are not familiar, we're a nonprofit, and one of our arms is entrepreneurship. So I'm the director of the academy where we help underestimated entrepreneurs plan, start, and grow small businesses. And so I say all that to say that I think there's a balance. You have to do what's right for your family, period. But also, if you have downtime, if you have off time, if you commute, if your kids take naps, then to educate yourself about some things you may need, like systems and processes, how to automate, how to adjust, as Josh talks about. And so you'll be better prepared for that. I think that it really is something that we should grow from, but we cannot forget, baby, Black people are innovative. Honey, we will take lemons and make chocolate cake and let the people wonder, like, how you do it. So I don't think that if we, as Josh was saying, adjust, if we pivot, if we push, if we are inventive and creative. When the government went on furlough, a lot of government workers that were Black and brown communities actually started small businesses during that time, selling mama cheesecake and cleaning houses and doing hair and this and that, because we're going to make it happen from the beginning to the end. Now, the question of will the government recognize them is a different story, because how they recognize them is what? Taxes and self-reporting and the census and these things that may or may not accurately account for our community small businesses. But I did want to say that Columbia University did a study and said if the poverty level hits 10% for white Americans, it will be 30% for African Americans. The poverty level, 30% for African Americans. That is a lot. And that is alarming and something that we have to be aware of right now, that the poverty level for our people is going to grow based on COVID alone, based on this quarantine alone. And so we do have to have our eyes wide open when we're creating businesses, jobs, and how our communities are pivoting in this moment, because our people are disproportionately being furloughed, let go rather, and fired based on COVID. So I think there's both ends of the coin to that. Yes, it will affect us, but it also may spur innovation in our community in ways we haven't seen in a while. And we've seen that historically has always happened with us.
Can one of you talk about how COVID has affected your company and how you have decided to pivot because of it?
Shit, well, COVID, it wasn't COVID. It was March 3rd, tornado wiped me clean up off the map. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't even have a chance to really, feel the COVID thing because we were still dealing with the tornado.
Right.
So in regards to just figuring it out, my whole thing has been pivot, not pivot technology school, but just really about pivoting. What can I do now? Or what can I do when they open up the city to do what I do best, be entrepreneurs. So what I've been doing is I've been studying the markets. I study back from the Spanish flu to the Great Depression. What industries thrived after a Great Depression? That's what I do. And then I figure out how to create businesses or things around that. I think here's what it is, man. I think we have too many passionpreneurs. We don't have enough entrepreneurs.
Can you elaborate on that? The difference between
All right. So passionpreneurs are people that say, you know what, I love puppies so much, and I'm going to start me a puppy meal because I love puppies so much. And that's their passion. And it's all good. But we need more entrepreneurs to see a need and create a solution. Not that I'm in love with anything. I'm just see a need. I'm going to create a solution. So the need is that we have a food desert in North Nashville. Who the hell going to create a grocery store? Who's going to create a garden? Who's going to do these things? And it's not that I'm in love with grocery or I'm in love with cereal or whatever. No, it's the fact that there's a need and I need to create a solution. So we need to create more entrepreneurs, not so many passionpreneurs. We have a lot of passionpreneurs, and that's why we have so many sole prop businesses.
But that narrative was forced down our throats, Josh. If you look at different business owners, business coaches, different seminars, like Erica said in the beginning, we are grossly uneducated, right? When you look at when you start businesses, who all been to seminars and conferences, they lead up and say, your business have to be your passion. You need to be passionate about your business, right? Yeah. That's what's sold to the Black community. And then you turn around, we got those passionpreneurs, as you call it, and when really that's still not doing business. So I believe that many of us have to challenge that narrative. We don't have enough people to challenge it. I'm happy you said something about that, bro, because we don't have enough folks challenging that narrative. We would like, I used to get folks to become insurance agents, right? And my number one thing was, I don't got the passion to sell insurance. I don't care about selling insurance. That's not what I'm passionate about. Till I show them a commission check. Till I show them a bank statement. I said, I wasn't passionate either, but it is a need. And we don't get past that passion point. And so not only are we getting beat down the heads, but we even got our pastors who, when they throw entrepreneur seminars, first thing they talk about is you need to be passionate about your business. So how do we get past that? Because it seems like that's crippling us as well. What say you, Erica and Danielle? How do we get past that part? Because that's great. I'm happy you rose that question, bro. Seriously, I'm happy you said that.
And let me fix it just a hair. You need to have some compassion and passion about what you do. You have to be passionate about it.
But not every damn body, right?
Not everything. Like some things is like you got to see a need and create a solution. Like I ain't passionate. I wasn't so passionate about no dry cleaning. I don't care about your dirty clothes. I barely wash my own. You know what I'm saying? But in North Nashville, in a thriving community called Germantown, there was a need. No dry cleaners. Solution, dry cleaners. Let me connect with people that's passionate about the dry cleaning business. And we was in business for 11 years. So, I mean, like, we just got to get, past that little part. But, go ahead.
I think it depends on the person. What drives you to get up and work on your business? For some, it may be the cash. Like, flat out, I like money. That's what if it make money, it makes sense. I'm going to get up and I'm going to do it. For others, it may not be all about that. It may be, I just absolutely love doing hair. And so that's what I'm going to do. I can't wait to get back to work once this is over so I can do somebody's hair. And if that's what drives you to get up and go do hair, because all in the end is going to translate to money anyway. So I feel like whatever it is, because it's very different for everybody, for every person. And so, like, am I passionate about Black-owned businesses? Absolutely. That is my business. But I'm also passionate about making money. So I am lucky that they came together as one, you know? And so I think that as a business owner, you have to think about what your passion is and can you truly make money off of it? And how much money? And is there a ceiling there? You know, like it's only so far you can go with certain things. And then we have to start to think about things differently. Like I was talking to someone the other day, we were talking about a makeup line, lipstick line. And that's all fine and dandy, but it's a white label lipstick line, right? So if that white label company goes out of business, you don't have no line no more. You need to be figuring out, how do you become the white label? Like that's where I want our businesses to get to. Like, how do I become the white label? And how do I start selling and getting people to have their own line under me, right? And so I might be passionate about makeup or whatever, but how far is that going to truly take me? And we need to be honest with ourselves about that in the beginning. Like, do I just want this to be a side hustle? Because that's cool too. Like, I feel like that's perfectly fine. If you're passionate about something, you want to make a little cash off of it on the side, that's perfectly fine. But if you're looking at quitting your job and sustaining your income and raising a family and buying a house and doing all these things, you got to be realistic about, is your passion going to take you there? And maybe you need to look at your passion in a different light for it to actually go there. So I mean, I feel like there's nothing wrong with someone saying, I love doing hair and I'm going to go do hair. And that's because if that's what make them get out the bed every morning and go grind, it is what it is. Whereas someone else maybe don't have a passion about whatever and they struggling to get up and do anything with their lives. So if that passion is what drives you to get up in the morning when everybody else laying down, then I feel like there's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
No, just to chime in, and you're right about that. But when I want to talk about this statistic here, right? How many of you guys heard this conversation? Sean, I want you to jump in on this too, because you may have heard it from your end, right? So we said Hispanics are 13% and we're 4%, correct? Do you ever look at the industries that Hispanics are dominating that we once had at one point, from construction to lawn care services, like all the stuff that we decided we don't want to do anymore?
Because they're looking at what you need, not what you want. Like, you know, they're providing something that people gonna always need somebody to build a house. People gonna always need a plumber. They're gonna always need their grass cut.
Right.
You know,
Needs
and wants. Right. So once again, how do we remove the emotion with us? Because we so damn emotional about everything. How do we adapt the mindset that business is warfare? Like I don't care what you say.
That's not a black thing, though. I don't think it's a black thing. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, there are white people who are emotional too. You know what I mean? There are white folks that love cutting grass. I spoke at this event a month ago or so, 2 months ago. It was a lawn care networking event or something. Everybody there was in lawn care. There's white folk that love lawn care, right? So I don't think like the emotional, I think that's a personality thing. You know, if we all took the DISC assessment, then we figure out like, you know, how we are. But I think that what's key is, and I think everybody's saying this, it's cool to be passionate, but we have to learn business. We have to learn how to build a business, right? Instead of just saying, hey, I like doing hair, instead of having a 30-year-long career of doing hair, I build cosmetology centers or schools or whatever, right? Or if I love makeup and lipstick, hey, I create the white label.
Yeah.
I enable people to white label my stuff, right? So let's build a business that can scale. And I think that's where the issue comes. And that's not a black problem either, because I run into a lot of white folks or whoever who do not know how to build a business. But I think our thing is, that's why I say I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not who happens to be black, right? I'm not a black entrepreneur. So that's why I say that, because business is business. To me, I think business is like water, right? If I take water out my front yard and I water the grass, there's some weeds in there too. The water doesn't care. Like, the water is going to go where it lands, and it's going to water the grass and it's going to water the weeds, right? Business is the same way. Just like I said, money is green.
right? So if you do good business, like ultimately we're going to win. Now we got more barriers, we got some adversity, but at the end of the day, we have to learn business and learn how business operates. And it's a journey, but we got to commit to learning business. So back to your question, Erica, you're saying like, what can we be doing now? What would we suggest entrepreneurs doing now? I would say learn the art of business, like study business, right? And find somebody who's already successful at what you want to do. Okay. And figure out their formula, figure out what they're doing, how they're reaching success, whether they black or white. Okay. And this person can be close or they can be far because we got access to people now.
Yeah.
So
So let's focus on a lot of people are kind of in panic mode. And we're going to bring Jeff Magruder on here in just a second to talk about how they get access to the funding to keep their business afloat. But going back to the question that I asked, so that COVID-19 does not desecrate our Black-owned businesses, how do we keep the Black-owned businesses alive? We have 1.5 million of them out there right now that are sole props. What can they be doing right now? The next 60 to 90 days to make sure that they stay afloat. And so we know one of those things is pivoting. How do they pivot? Like, what should they be focused on to make sure that COVID-19 does not take them out?
People need to be looking at what their business model is and how it operates. If it doesn't have a virtual component, it clearly needs one at this point. I think that we've all seen that. I kind of like the virtual situation, and I think if you're a business owner, you're going to see that a lot of people like it. And a lot of people much rather, like, for instance, my personal trainer who I do virtual workouts with now, I'm like, I don't never want to go to the gym. I'm going to need you to keep these virtual trainings up, right? So I think if you have a business, you're seeing that you need to look at what your model is and can you make it easier for people to do business with you? I also think that it's time for us to talk more about how we support one another and how we support Black-owned businesses, because that could be the thing. Like Josh said, our buying power is astronomical. We could save ourselves.
Right.
$3 trillion.
Come together, right?
And that gets us away from the victimhood, right?
While I am begging folks, like, can y'all please, if you could buy a $10 gift card, right? But I'm like, realistically, if I got 500 people right now that have committed to buy a $10 gift card, that's $5,000. That's not a whole lot. But if we spread that amongst 5 businesses, that might pay part of somebody's rent, So I feel like it's time for us to step up and do it for ourselves. Like, we don't know what's going to happen with this SBA money. Like, we don't know if more is going to happen and is going to come. Who knows? And who knows who's going to get it? Because, we're only a small portion of the small business owners out there. So, the likelihood that all of our businesses are going to get some money is slim to none. It's just not going to happen.
Hey, Erica.
Yeah.
Erica. Okay. Strategic partnerships. Okay. I can give folks a direct thing that we can do right now. And this is what we're doing in my business. Okay. I told my sales guys, stop trying to get customers. We have a partner program. We partner with a lot of IT companies all over the country, right? And they sell our services, all right? Or they sell services through us. We're going after those strategic partnerships. We call them referral partners, basically, because one thing that is crazy about, we had a crazy week last week. We did some crazy, great deals. Momentum is high, only because of our partnerships, only because of our strategic partnerships. And I feel like it's like a net. And I think that's one thing we really miss in business. Okay. So what is a strategic partnership? It's somebody who can refer you business. All right. There's somebody in a related field or industry, doesn't sell exactly what you sell, but you guys complement each other. So for a real estate agent, it may be like a loan officer and vice versa, or a title person. Okay. A website designer may be a graphic designer, like that. So, but I think building strategic partnerships now and figuring out, hey, how are you handling this whole situation? What are you working on? Is there something we can collab on? If we make an effort to do that every single day, the deals are going to come. I've been giving back every single day, and people are calling me like, yo, I just closed the deal because I called my referral partner. He's working on something. He need me. He didn't even call. If I didn't call him, I'm like, yo, the deals are still happening, but we got to stop chasing the customer and build better relationships.
I agree.
I think also if they have, think about their industry, and then as Josh was saying, he talked about this on our conference, but how you can adjust to that. So if you're in fashion, my own small business is in fashion. And I'm not a designer, but they're now making masks, right? Mask is a big business right now. Half of these masks ain't protected. We don't actually know what's going on, but people buying masks. Okay.
They got Gucci mask out now.
We don't know what's going on, but people are buying masks. You're trying to see like, what is your industry, and then how is the need now shifted? And then where can you fit that? If it's partnerships, if it's shifting what you make, if it's now making it all in the USA, because these USA-based businesses are getting a lot of money because they can do Amazon quickly versus if you were doing it, if they were shipping it from, China or whatever that slowed down. So you got to see like, how can we now use the restrictions that we have to your benefit in your industry?
Yes. So I shared on my page today, Amazon is looking to help minority businesses sell their products on their marketplace, and they're actually pairing you up with a Amazon coach to stay with you for a year to help you be successful on that. Also,
that's huge.
Yeah, very, very huge. Go ahead, Josh. I didn't mean to cut you off. There was something.
No, you fine. I was just going to just say, like, just to give you an example of what we done. So Pivot, the technology school, our classes were taking place at the lab and upstairs and downstairs. So we had 2 classrooms going on. So when that wiped out, it really accelerated our growth plan. So we was just really stuck on just going to be a campus, and we were just going to offer our services to our students. Well, now that we have been forced to go ahead and get on a virtual platform, so now we're on a virtual platform, all the curriculum is virtually, so now we can expand our reach to the world because we can reach out to everybody. So now we're breaking our courses up. So now you can take SQL by itself for 4 weeks and pay some money, or Python by itself and for 4 weeks and take some money. So that helped us accelerate the growth plan. So when we looked at COVID really just forced the play, so it accelerated the play. So you have to look at what ways can it accelerate your growth, not hold you back.
Right. And I think I said on the last forum, Chinese people, when they speak about pandemics, they don't speak of it as a disaster. They speak of it in terms of opportunity. And just from the very beginning of the pandemic, the business community here in Nashville has been screaming out, how can your business be a solution to a problem that COVID-19 has created? Launch Tennessee has a call out for bids right now for health professionals who can do telehealth. They're looking for marketers who can help them, videographers who can help them do infomercials. Like if right now you're a photographer or a videographer and you can't get those clients that you normally get, look at to see what the government needs from the community right now and sign up to be a vendor for the government. And that's one thing that you can do to bring in money right now. So what we're gonna bring Jeff Magruder on at the moment. I don't know who it's going to kick off, but if it kicks you off, just join back and go back into the waiting room. Okay. Let's see.
Look at Corey.
Yeah, I was trying to get over there to hear Babyface now.
Look, I'm slowly keeping because I got it on, well, I can only see the vibes. So I'm like, hey,
All right, we want to welcome Mr. Jeff Magruder, Senior Vice President of Pinnacle Financial Partners, to the stream. He is here to talk about what everybody wants to know about the SBA loans. What's going on with that? So we've talked about so many times about how there are 1.5 million Black-owned businesses who are sole prop. A lot of the language in the bill states that employers have to use this money to bring employees back on the payroll. How can Black-owned businesses access this money if having employees is a requirement, or is that in fact?
No, that's not true. It's actually for everybody. The issue, and let me just kind of go back to see why this was actually started. This program, when it was put together, $380 billion. You got to imagine that's not a lot of money when you have, several trillions of dollars of assets of corporate banks across the country. So it was going to be a mad dash out the gate. And so what a lot of banks did was prioritize the amount that they gave out on this first tranche. And so that $380 billion was eaten up by companies that needed more than $350,000 to pay for W-2 employees. And so what's not being told is that most of those companies employed a lot of people. And so those folks are the folks that ate up the money. Mm-hmm. Now, as it comes to sole proprietors and sole prop supplying, a lot of their applications were delayed. So, for example, Pinnacle, we took applications it was 2 weeks ago on a Friday for all the W-2 employee clients. We took on applications. And then the following week, we took applications for sole props, 1099, and contract workers to apply for PPP. What happened, and you guys have heard the slogan, break the internet. Well, that's what the applications did to the SBA. It basically, the entire system broke nationally. And so you had a backlog of applications for 2 weeks. So I think about my book of business. I probably have 100 clients. I have a bunch of all kind of sole props and 1099 employees. I could not get their applications in until 10 days until the other ones were filled through. So you got to imagine the volume of applications that were coming in behind that. And so it was going to be a mess. It was set up to fail from the start by the amount they approved. The big companies did get their resources first because they had more employees. But let's talk about what the next phase will be, and the reality of that being disappointing as well. And that's the sad truth, is that there's still not going to be enough that's going to get to our community. And you're right. I mean, our numbers are real low when it comes to small businesses, and the fact that they're mostly sole proprietors and they're heavily underfunded and not resourced enough. And so what I've tried to do in my teachings and when I'm doing my podcast and on my website and postings and the things that I'm trying to do is really architecture around the business. And so if you do business with me, like, I do more than just open an account and give you a loan. Like, I'm really trying to help you build out your whole plan. And so if I'm an entrepreneur and I'm trying to avoid going out of business and I got one leg out the door and I'm trying to figure this thing out, it's time to take a step back to figure out what's next without the government helping you out. And so what I've heard you all talk about are solutions to that. And so, yes, a bailout would help, but it's not going to get to us. I mean, the reality of this thing is not going to get to our community as fast as we need it. And that's what it is. So knowing that, we need to be ready right now. I say we got 6 months, if you got a small business, to kind of scramble to figure out what you're going to do, to rewrite your business plan, build some other resources, some other options that's going to make you more successful. We have time. This thing's not going to, I know they're opening up the state in a couple of weeks, but we have time to really talk about asset management. And that's really what this is. And so I want to share and talk about how to get back. What are our options? What are our next steps? Because this PPP thing is over. And the next round, that money's already accounted for. Like, I was getting calls today of applications that there's 3 weeks behind. Some of my biggest clients didn't get money. These are 7-figure checks that didn't get funded. So here we are. Most of us are trying to get $60,000 for 2.5 weeks of payment. So it's going to be a very, very tough thing. And the reality is we have to think about what's not going to happen and the plan after.
Well, Jeff, just to piggyback on that, the former banker in me had to jump in. I love hearing other bankers share that knowledge. But I think you said, like, I'm going back to what Erica said earlier, we are grossly uneducated. And so when you hear these numbers I'm about to propose out here, this allowed the Bills, the Danielles, the Ericas, the Josh Mundys to really come together on this partnership, really change the narrative after this conversation. When you look at the CARES Act, many people don't know what the CARES Act. I want you to go into that and explain that. But the CARES Act, $10 million out of $2.2 trillion was allocated for minority businesses. 10 million out of 2.2. They wasn't thinking about us anyway.
10 million.
$4.
I didn't even know.
$4 a business.
That average to me and Erica talked about this earlier. That average to $4 per black business. That's what the government think about us. $4 per black business. 10 million out of 2.2 trillion. So the reason why I'm throwing that number out there is because it's time for us to see we can't depend on the fucking government. Like, they just showed us how much we're worth to them. We can't depend on the government anymore. So what is as you said, I'm sorry, Erica, you was going to say something. My apologies.
No, I was just going to say, Jeff said, I think I heard Jeff say that he didn't know about that. Is that right, Jeff?
Yeah, I didn't know about that. It's 10 million. I mean, that's grossly. They shouldn't even put anything on there. That's crazy.
I mean, I bet they was struggling when they put that damn $10 million in.
Yeah. The Congressional Black Caucus negotiated that, and they're actually working to negotiate to ask for $31 billion now in this second phase for to basically rebuild the Black community. And it goes towards health and Black business and all of that. But in the first bill, they did advocate to have 10 million sent to the Minority Business Development Agency, and it's supposed to be given out in grants to Black-owned businesses. But when you go to that website, you don't know about it. We don't know about it because it's not being talked about. There is no link on the website that says access a grant, a CARES Act grant. It was not sent out to the minority population. So we don't even know how to even access this money in the first place. But that's why you don't know about it. But
I'll tell you, let me tell you a little inside scoop at Pinnacle. So this also happened. So 5 days into our applications, and we were kind of on froze for a while with our applications. 5 days in, I started getting emails from our CEO saying, hey, we got to make sure we get minority applications in. And so if you have Black-owned, Latino-owned, women-owned businesses, make sure you bubble them up and get them to the top of your list. I will say that came. And so I don't know if that came from the directors of the government trying to make sure that the SBA was getting those applications in because someone was asking questions about that, or we were just doing the right thing. And I'm still trying to figure out if I just work at a good place or they were getting calls and shit was about to go down on them. So I found that very interesting, but it was 5 days after it became a priority. So
I think that's when small businesses started getting pissed off because we couldn't access a lot of the applications. Now, I was able to get one of the small businesses who I submitted, one of my clients, I was able to get them approved for a $100,000 loan, and that PPP loan was funded today.
Great, so, great. Yeah. What bank did that?
Franklin Synergy partnered with World Trade Finance.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's really great. So I hear stories like that. I mean, it has happened, but it's like it was just like playing the lottery. I'm just, I have half of my book in minority companies, and so folks, I got in. I was trying to get funded. I got 4 applications in out of 30.
Wow.
So I got 22 people that I'm just like, man, I'm sorry, this thing, but I'm not the only banker. So all of my peers are in the same exact boat, and we're just all sitting here like, man, this sucked. I mean, working late nights, recalculating payments, and we had to change internal changes that kept messing stuff up. And so, so in 2 weeks, our bank grew 1.7 billion in assets. It took us 20 years to grow to 20 billion. So in 2 weeks we grew what's that, 5% of that? So it was a madhouse. I'm glad it's kind of calming down, but we got to focus on what's next, because if we're raising the light on the lack of support, like what are we going to do here in the city to pull together assets to talk about like how we can make decisions? And so I hear a lot of the comments y'all are saying the attitudes are right, but there has to be some architecture around assets. Identify how many assets, and I would say in Nashville there's probably about $4 to $5 billion in Black assets based on our net worths, and our net worths are about $17,000 each. I mean, on average, that's the average African American's net worth nationally, versus white Americans is 170,000 on average. All right, so if you do the math on that, like we have about $4 billion in assets in Middle Tennessee. That's enough to have some leverage, to have a bank, to have different things going on. And so we just have to get the mindset. Y'all talked about immigrant companies that have come together, African immigrants, Latino. I bank a lot of those, Koreans. What they do is they do communicate with each other. They do make it about money. They make it about money. People come over, they ride the boat over, they got stuff for them, they're set up, they throw them money. We don't do that. I can't tell you how many groups I know, especially Black groups, that are actually a collective group that put money just in the pool for 15 members to pull that. I don't know too many that do that in Nashville, just across the country. So, but if you think about Hispanics, Persians, Kurdish families, Indian families, they all do this. It's a tribal thing. Like that was broke out of us during slavery, and we have not recovered.
Many of us, we just refuse to be a monolith. Like we're advocate against being a monolith, and they wonder why we don't have peer-to-peer lending amongst us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because no one wants to participate when we see that we have a broken model versus a winning model that other races are doing. So, man, that's once again goes back to mindset, that we have to challenge that mindset, like severely challenge that mindset.
Right.
So Jeff, what would you suggest? Because if we don't have that mindset, and if we don't have peer-to-peer groups in Middle Tennessee among our community, like what would you encourage or suggest be the next step to start?
I would find a group or two that is doing it right, and then have someone that's in one of those groups mentor other groups. I mean, we need to launch groups. I think each one of you should have 9 people that you pool resource with. I don't think you all should do it together, because you all are dynamically leaders. And so like we need you all to take 9 people that are kind of our emerging leaders and pull them together and start a group and say, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're all entrepreneurs. We're going to have a business model. We're going to have bylaws. We're going to meet every month. We're going to have a plan. We're going to support each other's businesses. When we have issues, like we've raised $50,000 and one of y'all in a hard time, y'all can go and pull the money. You want to start a business. So like we hate all those things going on all over Nashville. Groups of 10 to 15 people pooling resources and supporting each other around it economically. We can get together on spiritual stuff and sets and socials and going to the game. We can do that stuff at a high level. But when it comes to pulling our resources and like putting your money in the pot with another Black person, we struggle.
Because we don't.
There are trust issues. Yeah, I'm like, we don't trust each other. I've had several people, because I have a Facebook group with nearly 18,000 people, and everybody's like, well, if we could all come together and put $5, and I'm like, listen, we don't trust each other to even put $5 with somebody else's $5, you know?
Right.
And so it really becomes, and I mean, I'm just going to be 100% honest in why I haven't done that, because it becomes a burden, you know, and I feel like you become responsible for this group of people and their money. They don't trust you. They ain't trust you in the first place. Now you fighting with people over what's happening with the money, and it just becomes a lot to deal with because of our existing trust issues that we have. And so, I mean, I think that a lot of people feel like I feel, where it's like, I'm okay. You know, I'm going to find another way to try to help my people. But when it comes to money, we have issues with trusting one another. And especially when it comes to like identifying a leader to lead a group financially. And again, the headache is like, I really don't want the headache, to be honest with you. But I gladly, if one of y'all kick it off, I will gladly join.
I remember when we tried to do something, when we focused on real estate, we had Jeff, we had the black banker, we had the black lawyer, we had everything that you need to the T. And me and Danielle both said, hey, we ain't gonna be in control of the money. This is the reason why we got folks to T, and people still didn't want to do anything.
I think that's the approach. See, we have to they always say your circle of 5 or your circle of 10 that you can call and text or whatever. See, what we're doing is we're trying to do the masses collectively, and that never works. It always gets convoluted. It always gets slowed down because of trust or whatever. But if you get your top 10, so they always say your top 5 or your top 10, get your top 10 in your phone and say, yo, look, man, I got an extra 5,000 or 10,000. Can we all see if we can all pull this in together, and then we can just lend off of it. And then, hey, if you need, and I was a part of something like this with Jeff. Mm-hmm. We're not collectively doing it anymore, but it worked, you know, and it was 10 to 15 people that put in whatever amount of money they put in. So it was like 500 or 5,000, and you got your percentages was calculated by an attorney, and you already knew how much of percentage that you had, but it was small. So we all have to collectively get our top 10 or 15. We cannot. This is not a broadcast to your Facebook, Instagram following, because most of them folks don't really know. They know you, but they don't really know you. Then you're going to become.
It has to be anonymous, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it really does.
It has to be an NDA, a legal agreement between the folks in the group, and you have to have bylaws. You have to do your budget. Each person has to do a business plan for themselves and discuss it with the group. And like, it's a real thing. Like, it's running a small little organization, but when you organize it that way, you have goals and you can do a 10-year plan. Like, that's what we need. And that's how you then take over politics, and you take over small business communities, and you buy real estate, and you give to your nonprofits. You can't do that by yourself. You need your top 10 to do it. And so all y'all are amazing people, and y'all have the power to do it, but it's the architecture behind it. If you want to talk offline on how to structure your group, I can give you the whole script. But the main thing, the folks in the group got to be highly vetted by you and a few other people, and it can't be any wishy-washy. If you have any question,
you're right about that.
Yeah, if you have any question about that person, they're out. They got to be 100.
Well, I'm definitely interested in that, and I think that goes to speak to as well. If you're going to banks to get loans, or you're trying to get investors, the first thing they're going to ask is who in your community has invested in you, who in your family has been willing to put money in your hand to help you build as well.
Yeah, let me give y'all a little bank history real quick, so y'all know really what we need to understand. Like, that the money that goes into a bank is your money. It's the community's money. And what we have done is divided our resources by going to every bank and not having relationships what's close to our house, because once again, it's that lack of knowledge of pooling of resources. When black banks were started back in the day, they were started from the church, because the church was giving out loans, but the church couldn't be federally regulated. So the church folks started banks so they could lend and help the community. That money would then help someone build a house, start a business, open up a pharmacy, open up a grocery store. And guess what? People would go shop and put money back into that bank, and the money would just flow throughout the community. So the mindset of understanding that has been diminished because of the way we've been taught. And then of course you put the period of the 60s and 70s and the drug stuff that was pumped into our communities, man, that's where there's a reset button happening right now. These calls right here are going on all over the country with entrepreneur-minded Black people that are sick of trying to be W-2 employees. But the biggest piece comes back to my first comment, is pooling of assets into a bank, into a group, leveraging those two things together and making something happen. And you know, there's a big opportunity in Nashville to do it. That's all. I'm just going to leave it at that for now.
Thank you. There was a question on here for Josh. Someone wants to know what made you guys stop with the cooperative, with the co-op.
Stop with what?
With the co-op, like what made you guys stop with the funding co-op?
No, I think it was just a matter of guys and time and just people doing their own thing. They never just really came back together to get it popping. Really, I mean, it was just something that they weren't really actively pursuing. It was just money just sitting.
Yeah.
So I just think it just takes a level of what you got to do is, because everybody has their own lives, but if you can really create the fund and then have a fund manager or somebody that's maybe in that vein or lane that can have the bandwidth to take in deals, vet the deals, and then bring it to the collective and say, hey, I got 4 deals. These are the deals. These are the options. You know, we can fund this or that. So you really, to keep it going, you really just need a fund manager. And I'm actually actively talking with a group of guys now to get something like that going again ASAP. Gerald is one of them. So me and Gerald have been talking daily about it. And so we're trying to figure it out right now because we need it, man. And I'm just tired of really looking to the government or looking to Metro government to really fund our dreams, man, when we can really do it ourselves. So we're actively doing that right now. Again.
Okay.
Well, that's awesome for sure, man. We definitely need more of that. And you're right. I think I said it last week. We got to find out who our shareholders are. You know, write down your top 7 to 10 people that you know, that you trust, that you communicate with. But most importantly, if you're going to do something like that, don't hold. If you trust this person now, you might have some folks that might have bad credit. You might have some folks that don't make what you make. You know what I'm saying, on a yearly basis. But if you trust that person, you got to understand that's a part of the whole, right? And many of us don't have people who make the type of income that we make on a monthly basis, you know what I'm saying, on a yearly basis, to be all inclusive. So if you're gonna be all inclusive in that, you might have your friend and this is no knock to anyone, because at one point I was making $2,000-$3,000 a month. I'm not saying, you know, so you might have your friend that might be the $2,000-$3,000. Maybe that's the person you may want to groom up to be the fund manager, who may have the bandwidth, versus the serial entrepreneurs that we have on this panelist, so they don't have too many stoves in the fire. And I think that's what kind of happened. It boggles down when all of us who are serial entrepreneurs got to manage everything.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to say about the co-op and how Black businesses can pull together? The Black community can pull together right now to help Black businesses within the next 90 days.
Can I just say this? I think we need to be better wolves in sheep's clothing. I think we need to do a better job of reaching across West End. I'm talking Nashville specifically. I think we get sometimes intimidated by dealing with white folks, and we just say, you know, I'm just going to deal with Black folks. It's cool, and I'm cool with what I have. But then we complain because we can't grow. But then we're not willing to go to a chambered event and be the only Black person in the room. In a specific area, something that I love, but I won't go because no other Black people are saying they're going. So like, we've got to be groundbreaking in this city, especially. You know, this is a racist city. You know, we're coming off of 60 years of Judge Luby's house being bombed. They still don't know who did it. So we got to understand, like, a lot of that fear is still in our community about dealing with it, and we got to break that. And this, like, folks like us have to be bold enough to just pull up and show up at something at the chamber that's all white people and just ask for business. Because what we do when we do that, we can bring it back to our community and share it. But if we're only willing to be amongst ourselves and do this as small business owners, we can't grow. They have our money. That's our money. Like if you had a mentality, that's our money that we built off our backs, then you walk up in there like, this is, y'all got my money. I need to get it back.
Yeah.
Josh does it well. Like he'll pull up, man, be the only black dude in there, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that speaks to where we were saying, instead of sitting around waiting and pointing the finger, that's how we change the narrative. That's how we fight from a position of power and empowerment instead of from a stance of victimhood. Walking in the room, even when they don't want you there, you walk in their room anyway, like you belong there, and you're there to get the information, the whatever knowledge that you're lacking to run your business. You're there to get that knowledge, and you don't care about what they think about you, what they say about you, because knowledge is power, and what you learn from them in that room is far more powerful than anything else, far more powerful than even just sitting here waiting and complaining about us not receiving what is it, the mule? And I'm sorry, I don't even, somebody say, what is it?
40 acres and a mule.
Right, 40 acres and a mule.
Yeah. Like we're not gonna receive that. I just think we just gotta be more proactive, not so much reactive, and really try, like Bill Lee said, man, we have to really execute and build better businesses, you know? It's just me, like, even what I'm doing right now is just evaluating everything that I've done the past 10 years. Because I got a whole nother decade to really, I'm coming from the foundation now to build something great for the next 10 years. So now I've built my own personal family office. You know, I don't make any big decisions without talking to my family office, which is Jeff Magruder, my attorney, Andrea Perry, Charles Winfrey, LaShawn Greenhill. These are my accountability people that's not going to let me make any decisions unless I come to the meeting. I talk to Marcus Whitney. Like, this is my core of people that, you know, are not going to let me make any decisions unless the family comes together and really help me execute it, because it's now time for us to build big business. We can't keep being small ball Jefferson Street businesses no more. That's just not over. We're not going to be able to scale. We're not going to be able to, we're just going to continue to have these same talks because we're not building big business. You know what I'm saying? Can we start making stuff? Can we start can we open up manufacturing plants? Can we do things that nature that can help us grow? We can control our own and we can do our own thing, but we have to have the risk tolerance to go ahead and do it. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. And I'm gonna say, I'm a single mother of 4, and I stepped out there to build a tech company, had no knowledge, no prior knowledge whatsoever. But because of, and we talk about passion and solving a problem, my passion was seeing more Black people, specifically women, in tech, because I hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen it in 2017 when I first started building my app. It was always white people that we saw building apps and building tech companies. And so I wanted to step out there and do it so that more Black people could see people who look like me taking that type of risk. Now, we can have excuses all day long. If somebody with 4 kids can get out there and try it, anybody can get out there and try it. At the end of the day, it's fear that stops us, and it's a lack of education. And there's so much education out there for us to teach us how to do it. I'm not telling anybody to jump out the way I did it, because I learned a lot of stuff that I now pass on to new entrepreneurs. I don't regret my journey one bit. It's the journey that God had for me to take. And that's exactly why I can sit on this forum today, or on in mentoring groups where I mentor entrepreneurs. But at the end of the day, the opportunity to learn how to build these type of companies, to learn how to manufacture products, is out there. And we have to get past the fear and thinking that it's only meant for a certain group of people, and actually do it.
So one of the things we talked about, and I like what Jeff said, what Josh said as far as building the foundation. Really, that sounds like Josh is implementing the vision. What is going to be his vision for the next 10 years, and he has a strong core of accountability partners. And so one of the things we were speaking about is what's our next plan of action. So we got cooperative economics as a plan of action. Getting back and seeing what you have accomplished from 10 years ago to now to build a future is a plan of action. But what is the opportunities? Because many of us have said that COVID-19 has presented us with opportunities. Same with your technology company. First, it was going to be 20, 30 students. I'm just using that number, Josh, so I don't know it exactly. 20, 30 students in the lab to now you can have 20, 30 students a day, different a day. Now you became a virtual brand. What are the opportunities that's out here for our listeners, the people that's asking the questions, that we as a Black race, so we could be more solution oriented when we have these forums? What are some of the opportunities out there that you think that we should engage in? Because like you said earlier, we don't necessarily have to love the shit. We don't have to love it. But what is the opportunities that you guys feel that's out there?
I think if your eyes are open, you should see that there's plenty of opportunity out here. I'm literally just too busy to take advantage of some of the things that I'm seeing. Like, I mean, realistically, anything, any sort of delivery service, anything. I talked to someone the other day who wants to deliver hair, and I'm like, go ahead, get it. There's folks in here struggling, right? Like, people out here looking a mess and complaining about it. But one of my friends, Toya, just launched at home wax kit. She does all natural products, and now you can order a wax kit. You don't have to worry about going out. So anything you can do to help folks to stay at home right now is a business. Mm-hmm. I used to do these delivery cocktail kits where I delivered everything you needed to have craft cocktails at your house. And I'm like, man, I should have kept that going, because right now people want to have craft cocktails at their house, So I think that it's up to the individual to have your eyes open and look for the opportunities right now, because they're here, and I think a lot of us, we're just too busy with what we already have going on to take on more. But for those that are entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, I mean, this is the time where you look at, what do people need and how can I provide it to them? And there are so many needs. I mean, and I feel like out of tragedy comes so much opportunity. Unfortunately, you think about having to take these little baby wallets to the stadiums now, or take a clear bag to the stadium because of bombs and bomb threats, right? So, it's an opportunity. Someone's built a whole business off of you not remembering to bring a clear bag and having to check it, at a locker and pay for that. And every time you go to a game, you see hundreds of people lined up that forgot to bring a clear bag. So that's a whole business making thousands of dollars just based off of a tragedy that occurred. So I think it really, I'm not going to sit up here and rattle off, 10 different business ideas, but they are out here. And if you are truly an entrepreneur, you see them, because that's what we do. We see the opportunities. And so I feel like if you truly call yourself an entrepreneur right now, you're trying to figure out how you can fix a problem that's already existing.
But the key is not just to recognize an opportunity, because that's not a business. Like if somebody, and I think we mentioned that before, you like being the sole prop, if being self-employed is different than being a business owner, right? If you're self-employed, you just own a job and you really didn't create a business. So what we really have to do, I believe, is notice the opportunity, but then figure out can we build a business around that opportunity, that gap, right? Can we build a business that can eventually run independent of us? Okay. Can it grow? Can it generate money independent of myself? Or am I willing to build that business? So I think that's a question that we have to ask ourselves. Now, if it's just going to be a side hustle, it's going to be a side hustle. That's right. And that, just like the fidget spinners, when they were hot, people jumped on it. They made a little money. Now the fidget spinners, nobody wants them anymore, right? So,
I mean, what you said earlier, Bill, scalable is so important. I think that for some reason we just are not thinking on that level. yet collectively. And it's important to me when I speak to entrepreneurs that I'm like, I think huge, like I'm thinking globally all the time, right? And I'm hoping that in my conversations that I have, I can help other people to think that way. And I think that there's a fear there. There's some sort of fear of like, I can't own a company that's going to be, selling stuff all across the nation. I just want to deliver my little product right here in Nashville, and we have to learn that we do deserve to own conglomerates, and we deserve that, but it's going to take, but you got to go out there and put in the work and make it happen. But we have to really shift our way of thinking about our businesses. And until we do that on a larger level, we're going to be 1.1 million sold props, that's just going to be what it is because of the mindset.
Well, there's an opportunity right now. I want to make sure I say this, and this is very important. We are in the middle of probably at the beginning in stages of the biggest transfer of wealth in our nation's history. And those are coming from the baby boomers. There's tons of businesses that will be for sale in the next 10 years. And so going back to these groups can take advantage of businesses that are going to sell, that are existing, that are running, that have clients, that need a little bit more creativity. And they don't care what color you are. They care what color your money is. Right. And so these are some of the things that we never think about. We never think about going to a business broker and getting the 4 or 5 people together and working up enough cash to buy the business and taking roles in that company as owners and figuring out how to grow it. Like I never hear us talk about stuff. I always hear of the ideas and starting up something and taking advantage of what the market's doing, but I never hear us talk about let's go buy an existing business that maybe are desirable. I mean, like Corey was saying, like it's sometimes it's not going to be the sexiest thing, but guess what? The return on the investment is probably 50 times higher than what you thought it was going to be. Absolutely. And you can pay somebody to do it once you get it up and running. So we got to get over this mentality. We have to start everything from scratch. Our country is running. So these businesses are selling. The biggest opportunity for those owners is the liquidity event. So they're going to be trying to get out in the next 10 years because they're trying to go play golf and get to Florida. So the time is now.
Yeah, we have to develop the Reginald Lewis model. We cannot continue to build businesses from the beginning. Why build a business from the beginning when you can get it at the end? They already built it for you. The same amount of money that you're going to put in to get your business cards and you're going to spend on marketing, you're going to do all this, and you look up, you're going to spend $50,000, and that could have been $50,000 down payment on a business that's already revenuing $1 million, a couple $1 million.
Hey, and I don't know if this is true, Jeff, but it's easy to get money for a business that has traction and a track record in turn from the bank. Am I right about that?
Absolutely.
What you said. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. One of my mentors in Puerto Rico was telling me about that. They said, Corey, you're going about business all the way wrong. It's all about acquiring businesses. If you want to become wealthy, the 2 things that most wealthy people do is buy other businesses and don't leave their money in the damn bank. Right? They have enough for emergency funds, and they try to find ways to make sure that their money work for themselves as well as incorporate businesses. So you got to understand, with all these damn bills we have, you would think we have a multiple stream of income tied to that too. So multiple bills, multiple streams of income.
I'd like to see somebody come up with that for this group. I mean, really just talk about businesses that are for sale in Middle Tennessee. I mean, and it should be a weekly discussion and have just y'all should talk about it.
There's a website that'll tell you.
Yeah. And here's the deal. Most people are so intimidated about like trying to get the financing and raising the money to buy it. If it's a good business, that's what you call your bankers, because your banker's going to know somebody that has the cash to invest in you. And you may not have the cash to put into it, but you got the sweat equity. You can work out a deal like a convertible note. See, all these things around education. This is what they do. They don't have a lot of cash in a lot of these opportunities. A lot of them work side deals with a friend they went to school with, and they got a little money, and they get other people's money to buy businesses. And so, like, this is where all the education. So I'm saying we got to free ourselves and be just as aggressive as they are, and don't take no for an answer. So that's what my job is. Like really, you know, from here on, like if y'all hear about stuff like buying and selling and you're intimidated about raising money, that's when you call me. That's the number one thing I do. Raise capital.
Okay.
Hey, Jeff, I didn't know you worked at Pinnacle.
I said, yeah, for a little while. For a little while. I'll be making
Okay. Somebody asked a question. Surreal Spice, the founder of Surreal Spice, she said, "We've had a ton of people try to buy us. Do we sell with the right number, or do we continue to grind it out? What's a good point for a business to sell?"
Here's the thing, like what is your ultimate goal with the money that if you have something to do, you're trying to retire, or you have some other opportunities that could meet your passions that are going to give you a return on that investment, do it. So that's a big question. But how much did you put into the business? I mean, how much have you spent? Did you make your returns back, and are you just getting out and you're breaking even? So you really got to understand, are you really making money with selling it? So you have to be able to go back and look to see what your personal investment's been. If you've tripled your money, 4 or 5 times your money, and you have something else you can get into that's going to bring you a good return that you'll enjoy, yeah, sell. Definitely sell. But that's what you're supposed to. You're supposed to eventually sell a business. That's where the biggest liquidity events in our country come from. One or two ways: you hit a lawsuit, or you sell a business, or hit the lottery. All right, those are it. You know, so yeah, you got to figure out a way to get that thing sold. Start with the end in mind, Josh. You know that.
Yeah.
But that was when I was going to touch on that. Start with the end in mind, because right before you sell, what should be your next venture? What's your next venture? You know, make this a game, make this a challenge. You know what I'm saying? Contingent on the type of impact you want to leave behind.
Yeah, and that's where leveraging and using banks and convertible notes and side deals with people can keep your money moving to where you're not putting all your cash into something. You could sell your business for $1 million and put 10 investments in 10 different businesses that equate to the same thing. So it's just diversifying yourself, just like you do the stock market.
Absolutely.
All right. So we are at the end of the forum. I want to thank you that each of you, before we allow you to say your final statement to the audience tonight, I want to thank you for showing up and helping us continue the conversation with Black America and Black business and COVID-19. If we learned anything tonight, it is that Black businesses should be focusing on pivoting to be a solution to a problem that the virus has caused, to keep business up and running, working with other businesses and with strategic partnerships or mergers possibly, and educating ourselves about just business in general. How do we effectively run a business? Getting with Jeff Magruder, if you are serious about investing, helping the Black community build assets, getting with Jeff Magruder and getting trained by one of the people who have ran one of these funds. And I think that it's one of the most important things that he said, is that don't go try and run and build one of these funds yourself. Go and get mentored and trained by someone who has done it, so that you build it and are able to run it successfully. And I'm going to start with Bill McCleskey, go on around, and then I'm going to bring Shayna back on so she can give her final words. And we have 15 minutes until it's over. Go ahead, Bill.
What are we doing now?
He over there. I'm watching his eyeballs. He over there paying attention to Instagram. They're seeing what Teddy and them is doing right now.
It went off.
Just like the teacher, you ask the student the question, and he like, sir.
Last words. Is that what we're doing?
Yes, sir.
No, I mean, listen. From my perspective, we're not we're not Black entrepreneurs. We're entrepreneurs who are Black. Okay. And what that means is that for me, is that business principles apply to me too. Okay. Business principles don't change. And when I look at my company, 90% of my customers are not Black. 90% of my referral partners, 300 of them are not Black, you know, because we add some type of value, you know, to these folks, right? We're helping them either make money, we're helping them save money, we're saving them time, we're adding massive value. So that's what a business does. It fills a gap. It provides a solution in a simple fashion. So I think if we develop that mindset, then we will act differently, and our expectations will be different too. That's all I got.
Thank you, Danielle.
Sorry, I was on mute. My final thoughts are, I feel like it's time for us to collectively come together and support Black-owned businesses, and we can solve a lot of our own problems by just doing that. I am launching a gift card marketplace, an e-gift card marketplace for Black-owned businesses, where you can buy a gift card starting at just $10 for a gift card to support a Black-owned business, whether they be open now or opening back up after COVID-19. It's a way to infuse some cash into these businesses. So make sure that you're following Black Business Boom on Facebook and Instagram, as well as if you're in the Nashville area, make sure you join Black People Making Moves, a community of Black Nashvillians. That's all.
All right. My final words is, man, you just really have to analyze what you're doing and make adjustments. Don't quit, but just make adjustments, and find and expand your vision. Your vision is bigger than 615. So expand your vision. Figure out how you can scale and grow. Also, too, if you're not an entrepreneur and you're looking to add some skills, make sure y'all go sign up at pivottechschool.com. Pivottechschool.com. We have a web development cohort starting tomorrow. Got 16 people signed up to learn how to code. We have some relationships with some people in the city. So you're going to leave Pivot and you're going to be able to get a job. So you're not just going to be going to school and not being placed. We have very large strategic partners that are going to be hiring our students. So if you're interested in that, pivottechschool.com. But continue to push on. We're bigger than this virus. We done been through everything. You know what I'm saying? We done been through 400 years of slavery. You don't think a couple month virus, we're not a pivot and adjust. So let's just push on.
Josh said we crossed the Mediterranean Sea, goddamn it. If we can survive the Middle Passage, we can survive this damn virus.
Right,
you know what I'm talking about? Hey, so one of the things I want to say, man, so we get to Jeff and Shauna, is this. Listen, you guys, the CARE Act just showed you that the government don't see you as a business. The government see you as being worth $4 damn. So what that is saying to you guys, eliminate all expectations from the government. Save yourselves. This is time. You have to unbridle your pride and really structure strategic partnerships to get you to the next level, because no one is coming to save us. You know, I've said it time and time again, it's been well over 2,000 years since God served manna. And I haven't seen no white stuff hit the ground unless it was snow. So I want you guys to really get to the position of getting active in these groups, understanding business. Bill said it great. You got to understand business. Just don't get in business because that's the sexy thing to do right now. Understand the art of business. But most importantly, right now, and I'm, shame if they threw a plug, I'm gonna throw a plug in too. This is the perfect time to get life insurance. Most insurance carriers are now changing their underwriting. That's making it more difficult for us to get insurance, since we're the face of COVID-19, unfortunately. So definitely come see me. Allow me to ensure that you got the right things that can get you to the next level.
Thank you. Mr. Magruder?
Let me get this off on mute. First of all, thanks for having me. I always enjoy opportunities to share my side of the business, and banking is a closely held practice, and it's closely held for a reason. as it's the media, it's the medium for all the growth we have in our nation. And so anytime I get a chance to teach and promote that and give it to our community, it's a blessing. And so my final thoughts is to challenge those that don't understand the financial industry as it relates to their bank and their personal lives and how that relates to their own personal growth, understanding leverage, learn the fundamentals of banking, because that is how our country grows. Our country is competitive across the world because of debt and leverage. And so if you can get that principles, you can grow your business, and understanding the laws protect people that can use leverage to grow themselves financially. And so those are things that I want to be teaching. I'll give this time to plug my podcast is What's the Mathematics. It's on Spotify and iTunes and Apple. And what I do is I spend 20 minutes. I get right to the architecture of finance, real estate, and culture. I really just get on and get off. I'm in the middle of a 4-part series right now with Marcus Whitney that's really dope, and he's kicking a lot of knowledge. And so check it out. What's the Mathematics with Jeff Magruder. You can find it on my website at jeffmagruder.com. I really appreciate it. I hope I can come back and do more with y'all.
For sure.
All right. Yeah. So I'm gonna pick somebody else I can bring Miss Shayna back.
Shayna back. Mm-hmm.
Shayna, are you there? Oh, I guess she's actually gone already. Well, I'm just going to say thank you again to all who's out there. I'm Erica Harvell. I'm going to, well, I thought she came back on. I'm sorry. I'm Erica Harvell. We will be having another forum next Monday to discuss the finances, just the financial part of African Americans with COVID-19. We have a bankruptcy attorneys who will be on the forum to discuss that with you guys. Follow Sales from the Grind on Instagram. Download our podcast.
YouTube.
Follow our YouTube channel. Also, my company is getting ready to relaunch our app here in the next 2 months. So download Know That and the App Store. We have recently pivoted to help small businesses.
But I don't like how it looks. Oh.
That's okay. We recently pivoted to help small businesses.
I got my little studio set up, man, and I'm trying to work out what it looked like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wasn't on mute.
So we help small businesses increase loyalty. So we're a transferable loyalty program for local businesses. So think credit card rewards program, but for local businesses. We love to talk to you guys prior to the 2 months of launch. So download the app and go to knowthatplace.com. Thank you guys. Have a good night and God bless you.
Thanks, Erica.
You're welcome.
Thank you. See y'all.
All right, y'all. Appreciate having you guys on. Hey, and be ready for our next forum that we're going to do. We're going to put that out there. So please support. All right.
See you guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff.